The air in Ashaka was thick with arrogance, but beneath the king's hardened exterior there was an undercurrent of wariness. His warriors were ready for battle, but the king of Ashaka could not shake the memory of his previous encounter with Ogwaro and his fearless Ofagbe warriors. He stood tall before his chief of the army, his voice carrying the weight of certainty. "The Ofagbe warriors will come tonight. Prepare yourself." The chief of the army was unconvinced. "Your Highness, if they were truly coming, they would have attacked last night when they realized their families were gone. Perhaps they're too afraid to face us now." Another warrior mocked. "Perhaps they've given up entirely." The camp erupted in laughter, but the king brow furrowed in doubt. He had underestimated Ogwaro and his men once before. He would not do so again. Meanwhile, at the outskirts of Ofagbe, Ogwaro's wife clung to him, her heart racing with fear.
"Where are my twins? I can hardly breathe, and I don't even know if they're alive."
Ogwaro met her gaze, his voice a low, unwavering promise. "They are alive. I know it in my heart. They are a blessing to us, and we will bring them home. I would give my last breath for them." She gazed at him, the weight of his words filling the silence. "You must come back alive. I'll be waiting for you." Her words anchored him, a reminder of the purpose behind every step they took. With a heavy heart, Ogwaro gathered the warriors for the long journey ahead. They would not fail. The journey to Ashaka was long and treacherous, the path laden with dangers at every turn. The warriors traversed dense forests and rocky hills, their muscles aching under the strain of their heavy armor and weapons. Every step felt like an eternity as they neared the enemy kingdom. The sun dipped behind the horizon as they reached a wide river, swollen from recent rains. The water was deep and swift, and the warriors knew they could not risk crossing without arousing suspicion. Ogwaro, ever resourceful, ordered his men to construct a makeshift raft from logs. As the men worked, they could hear the distant sounds of Ashaka warriors patrolling nearby. With swift hands and careful precision, they completed the raft, but the journey across the river was not without danger. The waters were swift and treacherous, and halfway across, one of the warriors lost his grip and was swept away. Shouts filled the air as the group scrambled to pull him to safety, narrowly avoiding a potentially deadly situation. But they pressed on, determined to reach Ashaka before the night fully fell. By the time they reached Ashaka, night had completely fallen. The warriors, battle-hardened and focused, knew their time was now. They slipped into the trees surrounding the kingdom, their breaths shallow as they waited for the darkness to cloak them. Ogwaro's instincts were sharp. He knew they could not wait much longer. The tension in the air was palpable as every minute stretched into eternity. The warriors remained motionless, watching the Ashaka camp from their positions. Their eyes were trained on every movement, every shadow, and so they had mastered the position of every warrior in the Ashaka camp. A signal arrived, a flaming arrow soaring through the night sky. One of their spies had been discovered. He had bumped into a fire lamp while retreating, revealing his position to the enemy. The fire lamp fell, its flames sputtering as the Ashaka warriors shouted, "Intruder!" Ogwaro wasted no time. "Attack!" he barked, and the warriors split into two groups, one to rescue the exposed spy and the other to liberate the captives. The Ofagbe warriors surged forward like a tidal wave, the night air filled with the clashing of swords, the screams of battle, and the whistling of arrows. The Ashaka warriors, startled by the surprise attack, scrambled to form a defensive line. But it was too late. The Ofagbe warriors, fueled by desperation and fury, overwhelmed them. Blood stained the ground as the two sides clashed fiercely, steel against steel. The warriors fought with brutal efficiency, each blow carrying the weight of their purpose, to rescue their families. Amid the chaos, the remaining spies worked quickly. They slipped into the enemy's stronghold, fighting off guards as they went. The captives, men, women, and children, were shackled and imprisoned, but their spirits had not broken. The spies released them, and the women and children, driven by the will to survive, grabbed weapons and joined the battle. They fought with an intensity that matched the warriors, their desperation turning to rage. As they moved through the village, they freed more captives, and soon, a small army of freed men and women joined the fray. The Ofagbe warriors formed a protective circle around the freed captives, ensuring they could escape unharmed. Finally, Ogwaro made his way to the heart of the battle, where the king stood waiting. The king's personal guards attempted to halt him, but Ogwaro cut through them with ease, his sword a blur in the night. The duel between Ogwaro and the king of Ashaka was a spectacle of skill and strength. The king's blade clashed against Ogwaro's with thunderous force, sparks flying as each strike reverberated through the battlefield. But Ogwaro's focus was unmatched. With one final, well-placed strike, Ogwaro's sword found its mark, piercing the king's heart. The king collapsed, his reign ending with a single decisive blow. With the king dead, the remaining Ashaka warriors fled into the night. The Ofagbe warriors stood victorious, but the cost of the battle had been high. Bodies littered the ground, both from their side and the enemy's. The warriors stood over their fallen comrades, breathing heavily but satisfied with the victory. Ogwaro spotted a hidden Ashaka warrior who fired an arrow to their direction. His target was Odi, Ogwaro's best friend. He tried to push him away, but the shot was too fast, and the skies became darkened. Ofagbe warriors and their freed captives began their journey back home. The village, having spent a sleepless night, awaited their return with bated breath. As the warriors entered the village, as dawn broke, the cheers erupted from the crowd. But Ogwaro's wife's joy quickly turned to dread as she scanned the faces of the returning men. She found her twin sons, pulling them into her arms, but Ogwaro was not among them. Her heart pounded in her chest as she searched frantically for him. Her eyes locked on Odi, Ogwaro's closest friend. She rushed to him, her voice shaking. "Where is my husband?" Odi's face crumbled and tears welled in his eyes. He didn't make it. He took an arrow for me. His last words were to tell you he loved you and the twins and that he would always love you, even in the afterlife. Her cries echoed through the village, and the warriors, still covered in blood and dust, bowed their heads in sorrow. The village mourned the loss of its greatest hero. At sunrise, Ogwaro was laid to rest with his fellow fallen warriors. The rituals were performed with reverence, and Ogwaro's name was etched into the hearts of his people. His legacy would live on, inspiring future generations with the courage and sacrifice he had shown. Though the village mourned their loss, they took comfort in the knowledge that Ogwaro had given everything for his people, and his love for his family and his kingdom would never be forgotten.